Professor Emeritus of Harvard Law School, Professor Alan Dershowitz. He's also got a great book coming out right there, The Preventative State. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Professor, this just in, a federal judge extending an order blocking the Trump administration's ban on foreign students at Harvard. It had already been paused since last week. Can you explain what this all means?
Well, first, the Trump administration gave Harvard 30 more days to try to appeal. In the end, Harvard will lose. They're getting very bad advice from some of the Harvard Law School faculty who are on the left, who wish that the Trump administration would lose, but the Trump administration will win the ultimate battle. The government can decide who comes into the country, who doesn't. Nobody has a First Amendment right to come into the country to trash America, to oppose Israel, to block students from going to classes. So the Trump administration will win. It will lose some battles along the way, particularly to Obama-appointed and judge-shopped judges who were selectively picked, but it will win the ultimate battle. Now, the Trump administration has gone too far. They shouldn't be eliminating all student visas. They should be targeting those students or those areas from which students come, which produce the evils and the damage that has happened on campus. There should be targeted visa denials, not general visa denials. Why would you deny a visa to a student from Israel, or to a Jewish student from England, or to a good person who wants to come to the United States to help cure cancer? So they're painting with too broad a brush, but ultimately they'll win the big issue.
Right, because about, 30% of students enrolled in Harvard are foreign students. And then, of course, you have a special connection to Harvard. You haven't been there in quite some time, correct?
No, they've excluded me. Basically, since I retired from Harvard and since I defended Donald Trump, they have never invited me back onto the campus. I was probably the most popular professor. I used to get 900 students in my classes, thousands of people coming to my lectures. But since I defended Donald Trump on constitutional grounds, I'm persona non grata. In my new book, for example, The Preventative State, I sent copies to every member of the Harvard Law School faculty, and some faculty members asked to have me invited to talk about this. It's a very important book, but because I defended Trump, they're not interested in hearing me. They wouldn't be interested in having the Lincoln Douglas debates at Harvard these days. Half the school would say we don't want to hear Lincoln. Half the school would say we don't want to hear Douglas. So we're talking about a school that has ideological uniformity and very little diversity of points of view among the faculty, among the administration. There's more among the students, but not nearly enough.
It's incredible what's happened to our higher learning institutions. Let's pivot back now to the tariffs. What's going on there? The New York Times quoting White House spokesman Kush Desai, who said this about the use of these tariffs to address a national emergency. Quote, "It is not for unelected judges to decide how to properly address a national emergency," he said, adding that Mr. Trump would use, quote, "every lever of executive power to address the crisis." Now, once again, Professor, do these unelected judges, do they have the power to overturn what the president is trying to do here? How is this even possible that we have these judges on the district level? I don't understand that they're usurping the power of the presidency in a sense.
This isn't the first time this has happened. It happened to Thomas Jefferson. It happened to Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It's happening now here. There are three branches of government, and there's a real dispute as to who should determine tariffs, who should determine visas. Should it be the legislative branch? Should it be the executive branch? One thing is crystal clear. It should not be the judicial branch. They have absolutely no authority to make policy. The only authority they have is to assure due process, to make sure that when policy is made, every constitutional T is crossed, every constitutional I is dotted, but they have no power to determine who comes into the United States, who stays out of the United States, what tariffs we have, what tariffs we shouldn't have. The judiciary is usurping a lot of substantive powers in the name of due process, and ultimately the Supreme Court will put an end to that.
You know, staying with the Trump administration and regarding student and exchange visas, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announcing late yesterday that the United States will begin revoking visas of Chinese students, including those with connections to the CCP or studying in critical fields. What do you think about this? Again, do you think this might be too broad of a stroke? What's your thoughts, sir?
Constitutionally, it's completely permissible. The only issue is, does Congress do it or does the administration do it? The courts can't do it. So constitutionally, it's permissible. The question of policy is it's much better if it's targeted. Of course, anybody who's active in the Chinese Communist Party or who's acting as a spy should not be given a visa. But it has to be done on a more targeted and selective basis. So I'm hoping, the administration often starts by painting with a broad brush, and then they move in and they target more carefully. I'm hoping that will happen in this case as well.
Professor, before I let you go, this interview, it is really going viral now. Freed Israeli hostage Omer Shem Tov making headlines today for what he said about President Trump and his Hamas captors and their reaction to Trump being elected. Take a listen to this, sir.
Yeah.
They were very scared of him. Yeah, they wanted
Who?
Terrorists.
We're afraid of Trump.
Yeah, they wanted Kamala to be chosen, to be elected.
You talked politics with them?
Yeah. They wanted Kamala to be elected.
So the question, first of all, does that surprise you? And then it kind of reinforces what President Trump has been saying, that October 7th would not have happened had he been in office. Do you agree with that sentiment, sir, considering that you have Hamas terrorists that are afraid of him?
I agree with that. But now let's make sure they stay afraid of him. And the important thing is the deal with Iran. If the president backs away from any of his statements saying that Iran will never develop a nuclear bomb, then his credibility will be affected. Right now, he has this great credibility. This interview proves that his credibility reaches even to the tunnels of Hamas. But he must maintain that credibility. And therefore, he must either get an airtight deal with Iran or allow Israel to destroy Iran's nuclear reactors. He cannot be perceived as what happened to Obama, where he had a red line on Syria and then he allowed the red line to be crossed. That would destroy President Trump's very, very important credibility. And this interview demonstrates how important President Trump's credibility is. It may have saved the life of this young man.
Strength on the world stage once again. Professor Dershowitz, thank you, sir, so much for joining us.
Thank you.